It took me 4 years to get into Eastman's Summer Organ Academy. It was a long road and a wacky journey for sure, but it finally worked out. My story is one of dreams, hard work, conflict, extenuating circumstances, struggles, perseverance, and ultimately success, all of which mark a good story. So I thought this one would be worth sharing. So grab some popcorn or ice cream or both. Sit back and enjoy the story of my journey to the Eastman Summer Organ Academy. It all started with a conversation I'd had with Mrs. Karen Hill while I was at the Masterworks Festival for the violin orchestra program. "You're here to play violin," she said to me, "not practice organ all the time. We don't have an organ program." Because my love for the organ had just been awakened not too long before I went to the Masterworks Festival. What she said about them not having a summer organ program begged the question, is there even a summer organ program? So I did some research, and one of the top results I found was the Summer Organ Academy at the Eastman School of Music. That sparked my interest in Eastman, not just for the summer program, but also for the school as a whole. It also helped that my organ teacher at the time, Dr. Congdon, had gone there for her doctorate, and she had plenty of good things to say about the prestigious school. That fall, after I'd returned to Houghton for my sophomore year, I traveled an hour and a half away to Rochester one Monday during the year to visit Eastman. I went to an info session, had a tour, and checked out Christ Church in Rochester for the first time, and heard some students play the Baroque Craighead Saunders organ there. I also sat in on Professor Lauba's studio class, where a student played O Gott du frommer Gott by Johannes Brahms on the Hook and Hastings organ. I told Dr. Congdon what I did and saw, and how much I enjoyed it, and she recommended that I apply for the Eastman Summer Organ Academy, so I did, and I waited. Suddenly, one day in March 2020, everyone around Houghton was freaking out over this new coronavirus that had just entered the United States from China and was sweeping the world. We also found out via email that the school was shutting down soon. I had to fly home, and I found, to my devastation, that everything was shutting down, leaving me without a place to practice the organ. But there was more. On Good Friday of 2020, the Eastman Summer Organ Academy was officially canceled. I never even found out the results of my application, if I had gotten in or not. Needless to say, I was devastated about the lost chance, and I spent the next 2 nights crying my eyes out. I regained hopes for the Eastman Summer Organ Academy in 2021, but in December 2020, they turned the normally in-person summer program to an online workshop. I was sad, of course, because online isn't the same as in person. And because I didn't even know if I was going to have access to an organ by the time of the workshop, but I had faith that the Lord would make it all work out somehow, so I applied for the online workshop. Months later, after the deadline, the workshop got canceled due to lack of interest, but I wasn't going to give up yet. I persuaded my parents to buy me a plane ticket and let me go to Rochester for one night in the summer of 2021. When I arrived, I saw the Memorial Art Gallery for the first time, as well as Eastman's Italian Baroque organ, which I heard a student play. I was very tempted to try the organ for myself, but I knew I couldn't because I didn't have permission. So I had my dad take this photo of me pretending to play it. The next day, I did an info session and a tour of Eastman. And then I met Dr. Ann Laver for a sample lesson on the Craighead Saunders organ in Christ Church, which I had been wanting to play since 2019. At the time, Dr. Laver was filling in for Professor Lauba while he was away doing other business in Germany. This sample lesson with Dr. Laver, though, was where my connection with her all started. After that, Professor Higgs took me over to Schmidt Organ Recital Hall and gave me a sample lesson on Widor's Symphony No. 6, which I would later play at my first Eastman audition. After I flew back, Dr. Laver sent me an email and encouraged me to apply for Eastman's Master of Music program. I took her word for it. During my senior year, I applied for Eastman's Master's program for the first time. Professor Laba returned that year as well. But with the new coronavirus variants, like Delta and Omicron, Eastman moved its auditions to being fully remote. I was, of course, very disappointed that I didn't get the in-person audition experience, but I was hopeful about getting in. So I recorded my audition videos and sent them in with my application and did a live Zoom interview with Professor Higgs and Professor Lab. Perhaps it was my robotic playing style, according to Dr. Shafron, or maybe it was the dumb questions that I decided to ask in my interview, but I got rejected. They canceled the Summer Organ Academy that year as well. So I applied and I went to the Summer Organ Academy in Oberlin that year. If you want to see how that went, you can click on the link in the description below. But to make a long story short, I had a really good time in Oberlin. The next cycle, 2022 to 2023, I had chosen to take a gap year in hopes of getting in on a reapplication. So I reapplied to Eastman and traveled there for an in-person audition. I got to play the Craighead Saunders organ, the Italian Baroque organ, and I auditioned on the Organ and Schmidt organ recital hall. My audition wasn't very good, by the way. I also saw Chelsea Chin perform and watched her give a masterclass to current students, many of whom I met and made friends with. When I returned, I saw that they were having the Eastman Summer Organ Academy again in person for the first time in many, many years. After some thought, I decided to apply for that, just in case something unexpected happened or I ended up choosing a graduate school other than Eastman. But then something unexpected did happen. I got rejected from Eastman's master's program for the second time consecutively. I ended up committing to the Thornton School of Music, and I nearly gave up my dream of ever going to Eastman. But then the email came on Good Friday of this year. By some miracle, I'd gotten into the summer program. I felt like I just died and gone to heaven. I was so ecstatic that I ran around the empty halls of my church calling for Dr. Shafron. My hard work had finally paid off, and I am pleased to say that I am heading to Eastman next week for the Summer Organ Academy. I'll record it throughout and post it to my channel afterwards on YouTube so that you can experience the thrills of this Eastman experience with me. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you, and I will see you in the next video at the Eastman School of Music.